At 2:11 p.m., my wife Ava was halfway up our porch steps with a banker's box labeled Kitchen Fragile when a siren chirped at the end of our new cul-de-sac. She froze. I turned. A squad car rolled to a stop. The officer in the passenger seat leaned forward, squinting past the windshield, and whispered to his partner, "Barely loud enough for my porch cam to catch it." "Wait, is that Ghost Viper?" Ava blinked, balancing the box on her hip. Dark hair stuck to her cheek from the July heat. Behind the cruiser, a tan visor and a clipboard marched into frame. "That's her," the visor declared, triumphant. "Trespassing. She doesn't live here." The officer stepped out slowly, eyes still on my wife. "Ma'am?" he asked, voice careful. "What's your name?" Ava swallowed. "Ava Reed," she said. "This is our home." He exhaled like someone who just connected two puzzle pieces from different boxes. "Ava," he said softly, "I know you. Ghost Viper, right?" Her shoulders dropped half an inch. I haven't heard that in years. The moving day that didn't want us. We closed on the little blue house at the end of Meadow Trace on a Thursday. I signed papers with a pen that shook and tried not to think about the long list of addresses we'd left behind. Ava's deployments, my job transfers, the way a cardboard box can feel like a habit. The HOA sent a welcome email that afternoon. "We're excited to have you. Please keep driveways clear during moving for emergency access." Fair. We scheduled the rental truck for Saturday morning, set out water bottles, and promised our neighbor Jerry a case of Topo Chico as thanks for letting us use one side of his curb. At 12:43 p.m., the moving crew left for their second run, and we started the soft part of moving, carrying small boxes ourselves. Ava lifted one marked Mugs plus Grandma's teapot with both hands, careful and steady. She was smiling the way you smile when the next doorway is finally yours. That's when Diane arrived. Tan visor, clipboard, an energy that said, "Nevertheless." "You can't block the street," she announced, though no one was. "This is not your assigned driveway." I pointed to the garage. "That is our driveway." "You're not on the spreadsheet," she said. "I manage move-ins to protect the neighborhood." Ava tried a gentle smile. "We're halfway done. We'll be quick. Would you like some water?" Diane ignored the offer. She watched Ava carry another box and added louder, "If you don't stop, I'll call the police." "For moving into our home?" I asked. "For trespass," she said. Ava's hand tightened on the handle of the next box. I knew why. 3 years ago, after a hurricane chewed our last city, she'd spent 12 weeks in a rescue task force as a volunteer medic. Her unit called her Ghost Viper. Quiet in, fast out, 92 evacuations with one radio and a pair of boots. Strange. Things stick to you. You can take the woman out of the radio call sign, but sometimes you can't take the call sign out of the woman. She hates sirens now. They are both the sound of help and the sound of hurt. Ava nodded at me, shouldered the box labeled pantry, and started toward the porch anyway. The visor raised her phone and dialed. Blue lights, dented hearts. The cruiser rolled in 6 minutes later. Diane waved like she was guiding a plane to a gate. "That's her," she said, pointing at my wife. "We've had break-ins. She doesn't belong." The driver stayed in the car. The passenger got out. Mid-30s, tired eyes, a softness I trust in uniform. He watched Ava. Something softened further. "Ma'am," he said, hands open, voice calm. "Do you live here?" Ava set the box on the porch rail with care that made my throat ache. "We closed Thursday," she said. "I'm carrying in our things." The officer looked at Diane. "Do you have evidence she doesn't?" "I'm president of the HOA," she said, which wasn't true. She was chair of welcome committee. "I didn't see them at the meeting. They're not on my list." "A list is not a deed," he said, and turned back to Ava. "I'm sorry to ask, but can you show something with your name and this address?" Ava nodded and reached into her tote. She pulled out a new driver's license, the ink still crisp, and a closing folder thick as summer. He glanced at the license, then the deed inside a plastic sleeve. He didn't even look long. His eyes were on her face, searching memory. "Did you work the hurricane 3 years ago?" he asked, voice softer. "Task Force 7? River Unit?" Ava's head tilted. "Yes," she said. "Why?" He smiled with his eyes. "My partner and I were on traffic at the Clover Street boat launch. They called you Ghost Viper on the radio. You got a kid out of a flooded basement and came back for his grandma when everyone else thought the floor would go. We heard it on the channel. I never forgot the handle." Ava's chin trembled. She swallowed hard. "He had a baseball glove," she whispered. "He didn't want to leave it." "Yeah," he said. "That kid sends our shift Christmas cards. Now!" The whisper that changed everything. The officer turned to Diane without losing his gentleness. "Ma'am, I need you to step back and stop recording her face. This is her home." Diane bristled. "I'm protecting the community. We have procedures." "You called 911 for a neighbor carrying a box into her own house," he said. "That's not a police matter. Please don't use emergency lines for HOA disputes." She tried to rally. "We require move-ins to be scheduled so trucks don't block." "And I see no trucks blocking," he said, gesturing to the empty curb. "I see a woman carrying a box and a man doing paperwork. That's not suspicious." He lowered his voice again and glanced at my porch cam. A habit. "Ava," he said, "do you want to file a harassment complaint? Totally your call. We can also just document and move on." Ava's hand touched the edge of the box, like she needed to know the world could still balance. "I don't want to make it bigger," she said. "I want to go inside my house." He nodded. "Copy that." Then he did something I didn't expect. He stepped to the porch, not too close, and offered the lightest handshake. "Thank you for what you did," he said. "We never got to say it on the radio." Ava's breath hitched. She squeezed once and let go. He turned to his partner and said the line the mic caught on my camera, the line that would title this video. "Wait, is that Ghost Viper?" His partner smiled, leaned out the window and said, "Welcome home, ma'am. The paper." That protects. The officer gave us a case number, not because anything criminal had happened to us, but because paper quiets noise. "If you get another 911 call for moving a plant, text the watch commander and reference this," he said. "We'll mark it resolved." He handed Diane a pamphlet, the kind our city gives out like seatbelts. "Proper use of 911 versus non-emergency," he said. And a reminder, HOAs can't enforce with police for things that aren't crimes. If there's a dispute, use your management company. You can't tell people who lives in their own house. She opened her mouth, looked at the camera, shut it, and walked away stiff enough to bend light. We carried the next box together. It was the one labeled Photos. I tried not to read the spines of the albums. My hands shook anyway. Inside, we sat on the kitchen floor. The room smelled like new paint, lemons, and what I hoped was our future. Ava pressed her palm to the cool tile and laughed once, shaky. "I hate sirens," she said, "but sometimes they bring good people." "He recognized you," I said. She shrugged, eyes shiny. "I was a voice on a radio. It's strange to be a face in daylight. The meeting, the rule, and the word we needed. 2 days later, the HOA called a courtesy session in the clubhouse. The board sat at a folding table like a panel show with worse snacks. Diane looked like her visor had lost a fight with gravity. The property manager, Carla, cleared her throat. "We're here to clarify moving procedures," she said. I stood and kept my voice light. "We're happy to follow reasonable rules," I said. "But calling the police on residents for carrying boxes into their home? That's not reasonable." Jerry raised his hand. "I've lived here 12 years, he said. "We used to bring casseroles to new people. Maybe we can do that again instead of calling 911. A murmur ran through the room. The good kind. The HOA's attorney, finally present, recommended actual adult policy. Moving trucks must leave 12 feet of passable lane. No blocking hydrants. Communicate large moves to management for road cones if needed. Volunteers may not confront residents carrying items to or from their home. Observe and report only via management if there's a real hazard. No using emergency lines for non-emergency HOA matters. Welcome committee, will welcome, cookies, forms, numbers, no enforcement. Someone, maybe me, asked the board to add one more bullet. We're sorry. Evan, the board president, looked at Ava, then at his hands. We're sorry, he said. It wasn't big and it wasn't loud, but it was the first right move in a week. The boxes that broke me and built. Us we finished moving by headlamp and stubbornness. At 9:07 p.m., I opened the photos box on our living room rug and found the picture I didn't know I needed. Ava in an orange PFD, hair in a bun, lips pressed tight, a muddy kid on her hip clutching a baseball glove like a life raft. Someone had written Ghost Viper on the back in Sharpie with a heart. I showed it to her. She shook her head and smiled the kind of smile that fixes things. I kept the glove, she said. The kid dropped it when we passed him to the boat. I went back. You don't leave people, or their hearts. We hung our first photo on the wall that night. It wasn't that one. It was our wedding day, both of us laughing because the ring bearer had lost the ring and my grandmother found it in her shoe. The wall accepted the nail. The house accepted us. 2 days later, Officer I Remember You left a postcard in our mailbox. It said, "Welcome home. If you ever need a noise machine, my cruiser can chirp only happy sirens." I framed it next to the router so I'd see it every time. The internet tried to ruin my day. What a call sign taught a street don't weaponize 911. Moving a box is not an emergency. If you're in an HOA, use management channels, not sirens, for neighbor disputes. Volunteers aren't cops. Observe and report. Don't confront. De-escalation beats adrenaline. Always. Paper protects. Case numbers and written policies quiet. Loud people. Bring cookies, not clipboards. A welcome committee should welcome. And for the record, heroes don't ask to be recognized. But sometimes it helps when someone remembers. If you like stories where clipboards meet call signs and the street remembers how to be a neighborhood, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me your wildest HOA moment in the comments. We'll bring the boxes, you bring the cookies.